Hello, my name is Veronica and I'm an academic teacher from IES. Today I'm going to be talking about paraphrasing. The objective is to provide a quick overview on how to paraphrase and also look at common errors made. Paraphrasing is using your own words to cite another person's idea. The original idea must be kept the same. Let's have a look at example sentences to paraphrase. The task: paraphrase the following quotation. You must include an in-text citation. This is from the Department of Immigration in 2009. So our task is to paraphrase this and we have to include an in-text citation. Step 1. We need to understand the key idea in each sentence. So what I've done is I've got my text and I've highlighted what I think is important. This large-scale program of migration, it was at the end of World War II in Europe, people were displaced. In Australia there was a shortage of labour and we were worried about the population growth and the future. What I'm going to do is find synonyms for these key ideas. Now, what I've done is I've copied the paraphrase over, and I don't want to look just for a single word synonym. What I want to look for is if I can replace or find new words for the phrase. So for example, large-scale program of migration to Australia, I could change that to mass movement of people from Europe to Australia. End of World War II, this could be changed to after 1945. So you see these phrases, that you can find a synonym for the phrases. People in Europe were displaced. You might mention refugees or effects from war. They mentioned Australia and a shortage of labour, population shortage of workers in Australia, and Australia was worried about future prospects. So what I've done is begun paraphrasing key ideas and thus sentences. But first of all, I'm going to paraphrase the sentences. Now, the key ideas. After 1945, there was a mass movement of people from Europe to Australia because of the effects of war. That's my paraphrase of the first sentence. And the second one, Australia had a population shortage of workers and was worried about future prospects. So now I'm going to ask myself, can I begin with the second idea first? Let's have a go. Now you'll note I've already started paraphrasing. So I'm going to change the sentence order. Now if I change the sentence order, this is going to force me to be more original and use more strategies. So the first sentence, Australia had a population shortage of workers and was worried about future prospects. After 1945, there was a mass movement of people from Europe to Australia because of the effects of war. So I've now begun with the first idea, and that's the situation in Australia, and then I've finished with the situation in Europe. So I'm going to begin paraphrasing. Now the first thing I'm going to add and write is the in-text reference. Here we go. The Department of Immigration, 2009, page 26, reported that, so I've got a reporting verb. After 1945, Australia had a population shortage of workers and was worried about future population shortage prospects. As Europe had many people displaced from war, there was a mass movement of people from Europe to Australia. Now I want to know, have I kept the same idea? I've mentioned migration, I've mentioned the displacement in Europe, I've mentioned the labour shortage and the worried about Australia's future. So yes, I have. Have I used my own language? Well, a simple test is to see if the order is the same and if the language is the same. So I'm just quickly skimming this and I can see I've used different language just with a quick skim. Is my language academic? Well, I've got an in-text reference, I've got a reporting verb. The language that I've used is not spoken language, it's more academic. We'll have a look at academic language in a minute. Are there many similar words? I did use displaced, as they did. They wrote displaced. Originally I was going to say refugees or effects of war, but because I changed the sentence order, my paraphrasing techniques, I used further paraphrasing techniques and there really was no other word. This is a kind of word there's very few synonyms for. Is it grammatically correct? Yes, it reads well, it's easy to read, the meaning is kept the same. How many strategies have I used? So let's count them. I've changed language, I've changed the grammar, that forced me to do that by changing the sentence order, and I've changed sentence order, so I've used 3. Let's have a look at a poor example. Here we go. A big plan to migrate people to Australia after the end of World War II, and a lot of people from Europe did not have a home. Australia had small people and needed workers, and they believed they needed more people in Australia for the country's future. Now, a sign here that lets me know that very little paraphrasing techniques have been used is that the ideas are in the same order. If you look, Plan to migrate, large-scale program to migrate. The end of World War II, when a lot of people in Europe didn't have a home, when millions of people were displaced. Australia had small people and needed workers. Here we are, desperate of shortage of workers and labour. Believed they needed more people for Australia's future, and belief of substantial population growth was essential for the future. The only thing that this person's done to paraphrase is they've gone word by word and they have just changed the synonyms. Now, another thing is the language is not academic. Big, change that to significant. A lot, use many. And, use furthermore. Now, a tip on sentence beginners, please do not start your sentence with and. Now, another problem is grammar and the original language. They've got at the end of World War II, which here, for the country's future, for the country futures. There's only a couple of phrases that are similar. I mean, this person has had an attempt at paraphrasing, but because they didn't use very many strategies, they were forced to use the same language. Small people, this is obviously a grammar error, because that's sort of indicating that people in Australia are physically small, rather than the population isn't very large. We've got the total strategies used is 1, and that's just finding synonyms of words rather than phrases. Now let's recap how to paraphrase. 1. When paraphrasing, understand the sentence and main idea. The goal is to keep the author's idea, but use your language. 2. Pick out phrases from sentences and see if you can change the language to your own. 3. Once you've changed phrases, you can then change the sentence order. 4. Use synonyms, change grammar, and change expressions used. 5. Don't forget the reference, because you are citing somebody else's work. I hope this short video has given you some useful tips. Good luck with your paraphrasing. I think practice makes perfect. Bye-bye.